A few months ago, I did a video that showed how to install a version of Ubuntu alongside ChromeOS on a Chromebook. And the video did pretty well, all things considered. And I've had a lot of people comment on it, have questions and issues and that kind of thing. But this morning, somebody left a comment that intrigued me. And the comment asked if there was a way to just completely scrap ChromeOS on the Chromebook and install Ubuntu as the primary operating system. So I did some research, and here we are several hours later, and I actually have a Chromebook. It's an Acer C720. It's got an Intel processor on it. It's also running Ubuntu 18.04 LTS as the primary operating system. There's nothing else on it except for the operating system that I just installed that I will actually will be part of this video, of course. That's why you're here. But I just kind of wanted to open this by saying, yes, it is possible. You may run into issues depending on your hardware. You know, things like having an ARM processor versus an Intel processor like what I've got, that may play into it. The amount of hard drive space you've got available may play into it. And I'll be completely honest, the reboot process is a little wonky. I do cover that towards the end of the video. You know, after everything is installed and working, I do a reboot just to kind of show what that process looks like. It's not terribly complicated. If you can get through this install, you'll be fine. Also, I wanted to mention that this is kind of a weird thing to do to a Chromebook. Obviously, it's not supported by Google or any of the hardware providers or anything attached to the Chromebook. So you kind of got to take what's out there as far as information and resources. There were several of these steps that I had to do or try multiple times to get them to work. I already know that somebody will say, well, I did this and it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you my go-to response is, we'll try again. Because if you've got, in my case, a C720 with an Intel processor from Acer, it will work. And you may just have to try some of these steps multiple times. You may have to try the install process multiple times to get it to work, just because it's easy to overlook something, it's easy to skip something. So definitely understand that this is kind of complicated, but once it's done, it works very well. Just know that it's not meant to do this, so it may be more complicated than you're ready for. But if you want to keep trying, I'd say keep doing it, keep trying. It will work. Here's the video to prove it. Okay, so here we are on the desktop of the Chromebook, and the first thing we need to do here is actually put it in developer mode. And the way we do that is by pressing and holding Escape and Refresh. We're going to press and hold those while we tap the power button. I want to make sure that we keep holding these buttons. Okay, so if you get this screen, the first thing you want to do here is press Control D. It's going to say to turn verification off, press enter. We want to turn OS verification off to put it in developer mode, so we'll press enter. And then here it's going to give us a screen saying OS verification is off. Press space to re-enable. This is kind of just an additional step to make sure that you want to do this. And then I believe we'll have one more of these or something similar to this on the next screen. Okay, so now it's in transition mode. It says up here at the top left, we'll start in 30 seconds. Again, this is another one of those, hey, just in case you didn't mean to do this, now's your chance to back out. And to do that, you just power your computer off. We're not going to do that. We're going to let this go. And here in a few seconds, this text up at the top where it says starting in 30 seconds will change to an actual progress bar. We'll see the percentage, the time that it's been doing its thing, as well as over here, how much time is left. And here is that progress bar, like I stated before. Okay, so now that we've put the device in developer mode, we're presented with this screen saying OS verification is off. And if we want to, we can re-enable that. We don't want to do that. We actually want to go ahead and boot into our desktop, so we can press Control D. Okay, so here we've got a couple of options. We can go through the setup. Well, we'll have to go through a bit of the setup process here to get started though. So we'll go ahead and press let's go. Then it's going to ask us to connect to a wireless network. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now we're just going to accept and continue. This is all fine. And this is where one of those variations comes in. You can sign in, but I don't think that's necessary. What we'll do is actually browse as guest. And now we're logged in as a guest. Now the next thing we have to do is start basically a command prompt and open shell. So we'll press Control-Alt-T. That's going to bring up Crush, which is the Chrome shell, or basically the Chrome terminal. We want to actually start shell and press enter. So now we're here, and the next thing that we need to do is actually modify the BIOS a little bit. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to type in a command here, and all of this will be in the description down below. And then bash. We'll say curl, and this is to download a file. TPS johnlewis.ie/flash cb fw.sh, and then we'll press enter. So now it's going to download a file, and it's saying, hey, by doing this you take on all of your own risks. So we'll go ahead and press enter here. Now, here we actually want to use option 1. This is going to modify Chromebook's RW legacy slot. That's the step that we want to take here. So we'll press 1 and enter. And then it's going to go through a process. And then it's going to ask us to type in the sentence here. This is a kind of a thing for them. So you can't accidentally, or you can't ever say, well, I didn't know what I was doing. This makes you type out an entire sentence that reiterates, if I do this and it breaks, it's my fault. So now we can actually just go ahead, like it says here, and shut off. So we'll go ahead and close this. We'll say leave. Oops. Here, power down. So we'll go ahead and power back up by pressing the power button. So here we're going to press Control D again to go back into our operating system here. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to press Control-Alt F2, which is going to be here, and possibly the forward button. We'll be brought into a login screen. What we're going to type in here is CHRONOS, and we'll hit enter. And basically that's going to be the root, basically. And here we're going to type in another command. Again, all of this will be in the description down below. And what this is going to allow us to do is actually boot from a USB device. That's the whole point of us doing this. Boot legacy equals 1. And we'll say enter. Cool, so now we're good there. And we'll say sudo power off. And then that will shut down our Chromebook. So the next step is actually to take the USB stick that we created with Ubuntu on it. We're actually going to plug that in. Okay, so we'll take the USB stick that we created with Ubuntu on it and plug it in. Then we'll power on the Chromebook. And here we'll press Control L and we'll press escape. So now it's asking which of these that we want to boot from. And it looks like in this case we want to try number 1 is the actual hard drive in here. You can see that that's about 15 gigs, and this has got this USB stick has a couple of partitions on it. So what we want to do is probably press 3 here, I believe. Because this is just the USB drive. The DVD CD drive has some software on it for Windows, and of course yours will be different than this, but I'm going to press 3. So it was at this point where I ran into some issues with my installation media. There was something corrupted on the USB drive, so I switched from trying to install 16.04 to 18.04, and everything moved forward just fine from that point. So here I just typed in help to get more information as far as what my options were. After reading through this, I realized I could just press enter at this point, and then the boot process started. Okay, so now we are booting into Ubuntu, and this should give us a couple of options. One, to just test Ubuntu in live mode, and then the other option should be to actually install Ubuntu. Okay, so by default, it booted straight into the live Ubuntu setup here. Now this is 18.04. Earlier, when there was that error message of not being able to do the GFX boot, I was on a different version of Ubuntu and it didn't work. So I just flashed my USB drive with a different instance, and from 16.04 to 18.04, and everything got us to here. So I'm going to go ahead. Any options up here? We can do like Wi-Fi. We can select network. So here we can see that our Wi-Fi card is working. We can obviously see that our mouse pad thing here is working. So that's all doing exactly what we would hope it would do. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel here. We don't actually want to do any of that yet. What I do want to do is actually install Ubuntu. So I'll just press enter. So here, obviously, it's asking me for my language. That's going to be English for me. Keyboard layout is, again, English, US. Click next. So now, of course, it wants me to connect. I'll just go ahead and do that so that it can download updates and things like that while it's doing the install. So I'll click my wireless. I'll click connect. And then I'll click continue. So here you've got a couple of options depending on your hardware, things like that. Normal installation that will include everything, or you can do a minimal installation with a web browser and basic utilities. For the sake of this, I'm just going to do the normal installation. I'm also going to have it do the download updates while installing. And you know what? Let's go ahead and install third-party. No, I'm going to skip that. I'm not going to do the third-party stuff right now. I just want to make sure that this is actually going to work before I start installing a lot of other things. So I'll click continue. Okay, and here we've got some options to erase the entire disk and install Ubuntu. Do we want to encrypt it? Do we want to use logical volume management? Or do we want to do something else? We'll just use the default. And this is going to erase everything on your drive here, so you're going to lose everything. So we'll go ahead and click install now, and here's what it's going to do. So we're going to go ahead and say OK. Time zone, that's correct. So my name, I'm going to say DB Tech. I'm going to say DB Tech. We'll say CB for Chromebook. Pick your username, DB Tech, that's fine. I'm not going to put in a password, and I'm going to tell it to log in automatically. I guess I will put in a password. Okay, and then I'll have it log in automatically, and I'll click continue. So here we can see that it's copying files, and it's actually been doing this the entire time that we have been installing. Okay, so installation has completed. So the next thing we want to do, like it says here, is restart now. And I'm going to go ahead and also remove the USB stick, and it'll automatically restart when you take that USB stick out. So things went a little wonky here. I actually had to do a forced shutdown by pressing and holding the power button, and then I actually had to go through this a couple of times to figure out what it was. But once it rebooted, I pressed Control L, and you'll just be able to follow along from that point. So I'll go ahead and press Control L. Fine, we can just press Control D, or we can wait. It will eventually pass that, but Control D will get us there faster. If you run into this, this is entirely possible that you may run into this screen in this case, and if Control D doesn't work, just power it off and then power back on. This time we're going to press Control L, we'll hit Escape, we'll say 1. Okay, so there is our desktop booting up, just like we were hoping it would. And there it is. There you go. There it is working. It's on my Chromebook. We've done updates. We've gone online. We've checked internet speeds. Everything's working the way we'd expect it to work. Now, I should also mention that this video may be 20 minutes long. And yes, I know I speak fast. But that's because otherwise the video would be even longer than it already is. The actual install process took me about 50 minutes. Of course, I've sped through some of that. I've deleted some of the issues that I ran into that I mentioned at the beginning. And I've some of those spots where it was just downloading stuff, I just sped that up by a few 100%, so you didn't have to sit there for 45 minutes while it did nothing. So anyway, that was the video. That was installing Ubuntu 18.04 LTS, which of course is the long-term support version on a Chromebook with an Intel processor. Hopefully you found the video helpful, useful, insightful. If any of those are true, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Would help me out a ton, would get the video to more people, and that would be amazing. I'd like more people to see that they can do this. If you've got questions, comments, thoughts, ideas for other videos, I'd also love to hear those down in the comment section down below. Do us all a favor though, if you run into an error, tell me what the error is. Be descriptive. That way I don't have to say, you won't say it didn't work, and I have to say, well, what didn't work? And then we do this back and forth thing that's unnecessary. If there's an error, if there's an issue, be very descriptive and tell me what the whole error message was so I can be more diligent in helping you more quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Hopefully, again, you enjoyed this video. If you did and you want more of this stuff, like and subscribe would help me out a bunch. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Thanks for your time. I always appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you in the next video.